everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here we have another video for you, and this will be some quick thoughts on the recent announcement of the Screen Actors Guild strike finally coming to an end. Coming shortly after the Writers Guild strike action came to a close, the Screen Actors officially reached a tentative agreement, that term used again, with the studios after a grueling 118-day strike action, which saw multiple actors continually showing their protests over certain initiatives presented by the studios. Now, the announcement was made around just after midnight on Thursday the 9th of November 2023. The action approved by the Theatrical Committee in an unanimous vote. The deal reached will now go to the union's national board for approval. Now, there'll probably be further details as the days and weeks goes by as to what exactly was agreed, but in general the main issues around the agreement concern the issues of residual payments made to actors, concerning the amount of television content and shows that were being broadcasted, particularly on streaming. Now, in the old days, certain shows would be selected for syndication on cable networks, and every time an episode or a season was broadcast, the actors and writers would be entitled and paid a certain residual amount for every bit of revenue that would be brought in from the broadcast of those shows. Now, of course, those broadcasting dynamics would change exponentially so when you start talking about the streaming content, when you don't necessarily have ads, so there's less commercial revenue, and most, if not all of the revenue, is generated from the amount of subscribers and watch time and watch duration. So there's a real concern here in terms of the amount of residuals being limited by the shows and content being broadcast on streaming platforms. Another major issue in terms of the deal that was reached included the high caps in terms of health and pension funds, and also compensation in terms of streaming participation, where a bonus scheme was going to be introduced for certain programming where the more successful it would become in terms of streaming views and hours, then a bonus payment would also be entitled to the actors. And without question, the biggest issue of all was the whole entity of AI and the initiative of studios in wanting to use images and likenesses of actors without paying them any residuals or compensation, a notion to me which is still absolutely outrageous and ridiculous. And I think out of all of the issues, this was the big sticking point, because regardless of residuals or amount of bonuses or compensations, whatever level they're at least the actors can still be involved in work. But the whole idea of AI being able to use actors' likenesses and images without their approval or compensation would essentially render the actors useless or obsolete. So I think overall that was the biggest sticking point in the ongoing disagreement between the actors and the studios. But we do have to remember, of course, it's not just the actors here, it's also the other staff around movies, the makeup crew, the costume designers, any runners or cleaners or extras. All of these type of personalities were also at very risk in terms of their employment. And we do also have to remember here that in terms of the residuals, it's really more the lesser known actors, the smaller actors that is affected more. So your bigger name actors can still get big movie deals, back-end payments for box office. So they wouldn't be at risk as such with initiatives such as this, but it's really the lesser names, you know, the ones that have smaller parts in television series. They would be the ones that would be severely affected by these initiatives. And as with the writers' strike, this whole action brought the entertainment industry to a complete standstill in terms of movies and television series. Lots of them being in mid-production had to be brought to a complete stop. So for the likes of example, Deadpool 3. And any completed movies that were due for release couldn't have the advantage of having the actors promote the material. We've seen this recently, of course, with the likes of the upcoming The Marvels sequel. We've seen other movies such as Dune Part 2, Snow White and Mission Impossible 8 all be delayed to 2004 and 2025. So this strike action was really a big deal, and now that a resolution has presumably been reached, it's implied that all actors and workers will try to get back to work as soon as possible. Now, of course, this transition won't be instant. It's probably going to take around 3 to 5 months before we get to some levels of normalcy. But I think overall this is a major relief for actors, movie staff, but also for reporters, pundits, content creators, news commentators, many of whose careers completely rely on movies, television, series and content being constantly in production in order for them to cover. And I think in general it's very common sense that prevailed here. And yes, I do believe that this is a win for the actors. At the end of the day, the studios were going to concede at some point, because without actors, how can they have any content? If they don't have any content, then they can't put it on their streaming platforms. They can't hope to gain any more subscribers. Therefore, they can't gain any more revenue. Therefore, they can't make any profit. And therefore, they can't increase their share prices. So it really made no sense for me in prolonging the strike. Yes, I do understand that pride and ego were involved here. Many of the studios didn't want to give in to these actors. Many people wanted to dig their heels in. Many people viewed the actors as perhaps being entitled, that they should be more appreciative of what they've got. But at the end of the day, the actors are your life source. They are the people who generate your content for you alongside the writers as well. Now, yes, we do have AI becoming more and more prominent within content production, but it's nowhere near the levels yet where you can simply log onto an algorithm, push a button, and have flawless recreations of all of these iconic actors and characters for you to be able to generate into a movie. We have seen a lot of improvement in terms of the de-aging process, but that's a very expensive initiative to maintain. And I've always believed that you should never really try to get to that stage. Whilst AI can have its advantage, you should never take away the focus of creating great stories, great characters, and great writing. By just using images of iconic characters, that's not really going to be enough. Just riffing off the nostalgia will only get you to a certain point. But at the end of the day, you are going to need to be able to generate great stories, great narrative, and great performances. And AI simply isn't going to do that job for you. So you really do need to rely on the actors and the writers and creators, and to continue to make movies and television series on a constant basis. So I think, again, this was the best solution. You really couldn't have this going on into 2024 and 2025 with all of these big movies and television shows being delayed. That wouldn't really benefit anybody in the long run. So really then, just a big relief, I guess, for all of us who cover pop culture and entertainment. We can now get back to covering this on a regular basis and not having to worry about having any barren spells in terms of content to talk about. And as I mentioned before, I do believe the actors have come out of it certainly on the better side. These type of deals last for at least 3 years. So hopefully the studios will have the good sense to not reach this level of discontent and disagreement with the actors and the writers in the future. Here's my overall thoughts and feelings on the recent announcement of the Screen Actors Guild strike finally coming to an end. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other topics or contents or movie or television series that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know within the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.